So the interesting thing about Roseland 63 is that this is actually my second 63 Impala. The first 63 Impala, I got it when I was in high school at LC Allen, and I took it down to a shop in Modesto, and they didn't quite do the work, and they kept the car. So I was able to purchase this second Impala off of my cousin Jesus, and so I started working on it in 2015, and it's a slow project because it's an expensive, really an expensive hobby, and most of the work I try to either do myself or do with friends here locally or with people that I've been able to meet along the way. Started in 2015, and I was working on it, but then in 2016 actually my mom got diagnosed with lung cancer, so I really wasn't able to focus on the car. I was more focused on just processing everything, and it took me quite some time to really be able to process, just cancer in general. So I kind of lost my momentum that I had gotten when I first purchased the car, and I really kind of tended towards family, being there for my parents and stuff during an extremely difficult time. But the reality is that when COVID happened and we all were working from home or just kind of isolated, this was my refuge from everything. This was kind of my way of taking care of my mental health. I'd come in the garage and I'd usually have my oldies playing or my rancheras playing, and I would just start working on the frame and adding another color, then on top of another color, and it's been fun. It's been extremely therapeutic for me. I've been lucky enough to have Bob from Reno. He's a extremely talented engraver, so I've been working closely with him. He's been engraving some of the suspension parts, and just kind of seeing the vision through. It's when it comes to lowriding, it's an artistic art form, but it also takes engineering when it comes to the hydraulic component of the vehicle, making sure that you're running all the right system. For this car itself, I'm gonna be going with some MCO pumps, which are extremely rare. So you have to modify the frame in order to be able to run that type of system, which is old school aircraft hydraulic system. And it's really a tribute to the lowriders that were installing those type of setups in the 60s and 70s. Of course, now there's modern dump truck setups that you could put in the cars, and they're a lot quicker, a lot more reliable. But I would really want to go with something that captures the legacy of all the lowriders that came before me. So that's part of the reason why I decided to go with an MCO setup for the Roseland 63. So for me, lowriding is interesting because I've lived in West 9th, I've lived on Sunset, I've lived on Boyd Street, and then we finally moved into a home because we lived in all apartments in all those places, and we moved into a home on West Avenue. And when we moved into that home, I have vivid memories of us moving in, and then we lived right next door to Shepherd Elementary, and there was always this candy blue El Camino on true spokes, and it was lifted in the back, and I saw that car and I just was mesmerized by that car. I really liked that car. And then we got to know the owner of the vehicle, and his name was Inoel Castellanos. His name is Inoel Castellanos, and my family started a friendship with him. He was actually the custodian there at Shepherd Elementary, and we started a friendship with him because, interestingly enough, when we moved into the house one day, there was a snake in the backyard, and my mom is totally freaked out by snakes. So I was outside in the backyard trying to collect roly-polies, and the snake came out, and I told my mom, and she freaked out, started yelling, and overheard, and he came over to our house because it was right next door, and he was actually able to get the snake and get it out of there. So then I was going to Shepherd School, and when I was in 5th and 6th grade, I actually played on the basketball team for Shepherd, and Eno was the coach. So he got a chance to coach me. The fact that we lived right next door to Shepherd Elementary, my dad became the landscaper for the Roseland School District because he's always had a green thumb. So when my dad became a landscaper there, the friendship with Eno became stronger, and when it was during the summertime, I actually would have an internship. So I would be like a custodian / landscaper for the Roseland School District, and was my coach, but then he also became a coworker, and then later on he became a supervisor. And during those summers of me working there and working with him, he would talk to me about Creations Unlimited, which was a car club that he was in and that he founded in the 70s. And he would give me the rich history of him and the club, and how they'd go down to Story and King, and how they would cruise here on Mendocino Avenue, and I always wanted to be a lowrider because I would, he kind of brought me up and kind of educated me about lowriding, and that was something that really kind of, it was a gradual but a steep learning curve. And ever since, I first saw his candy blue El Camino, it had a custom grill, and it had pearl graphics, and it, even to this day, I think, that car is, I wish I would have been able to purchase it. He doesn't have it any longer. He sold it to somebody in Sacramento, but definitely I think that was what really got me into lowriding. It was 1996. I asked Dino for permission to start Creations Unlimited again. And it was a really slow start, it was just kind of, I got the blessing from him and the rest of the car club members. And we had a fundraiser at Roseland Elementary to try to raise funds. I remember we wanted to buy a welder, so to be able to do the hydraulic work. So we did all the proper paperwork to get permission to do a car wash there at Roseland Elementary. And from there, kind of people that were interested in the club approached me about their interest in joining the club, and we were able to establish it again, and those are some of the most cherished memories that I have from my childhood. Well, not childhood, from teenage days, being able to have the club, be a part of the club. It kind of gave us all a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. And it was just fun, It was a way of pro-socializing in a positive manner. We would, when my parents would go to Mexico, they would go to Mexico sometimes during the holidays, or sometimes during the summer. And I would stay behind, so their house became like the clubhouse, and we would have social gatherings, and they were pretty legendary. Everybody would get together with their cars, and we'd all, meet up there on West Ave with the cars, and there was a bond and a friendship that we started. And I remember my cousin Jesus Valencia was very instrumental when it came to recruiting. So he was able to recruit people from Hillsburg and Windsor, and I was recruiting people from Santa Rosa, and it was a pretty big club. In the late '90s and early 2000s, I think we were at about 17 to we were between 17 and 20 members. For my car, I laid down all the graphics, did the candy paint job, and a friend of mine, Little Joe, came by and did the pinstriping and gold leafing. I did some of the striping on the frame, so that's some of the work that we've been doing so far. I know right now the metalwork's being done by Juvencio at Subculture Metalworks, so I'm waiting for that part to be done so I could get it back. And once I get it back here, then I'm going to start painting the firewall and painting the whole underside of the car. So my goal for the car is to finish it on Cinco de Mayo of 2023. I want to be able to have a custom grill on it, get the hydraulics all dialed in, chrome plated, engraved, and the interior, I think I'm going to take it down to California Upholstery and have California Upholstery do the interior work to it. For me, the thing that attracted me to lowriders is really the bright colors, the flashy colors. So the color scheme that I'm going with is a candy tangerine with some micro flake and some jumbo flake in some areas, but I'm also going to put some candy violet, candy pink, really make the color, the car itself pop. For me, this build it's really become my way of dealing with stress and anxiety. Life honestly is extremely stressful. So for me, when I come in here, it's really my therapy sessions of being able to be in this garage and working on it. And as I'm planning the build, the reality of it, it's not cheap, so I really have to be methodical about the way I budget things. Of course, I'd love to have everything engraved on the car and chrome plated, but that's just not the reality, so you have to be methodical about what parts you do want to send out for chrome, what parts you want to send out for engraving, and the other part is, the fact that I do the painting myself. I'm not a professional painter. I don't have a body shop or any of that. I just think it's an artistic thing. If you ask me if I paint cars, I'll tell you I don't paint cars. But when I work on my 63, it's kind of, I take it panel by panel. Each panel has its own artistic touch to it, its artistic element, and sometimes just being in here, and when you have to wet sand the car and color sand it, it really kind of gets you in a groove, or sometimes you'll come in the garage and you have to lay down all the tape, and the reality is that we're talking about miles and miles of tape that you have to lay in order to get the design exactly the way you want it. And the other thing is that if you want to add a new color, you have to make sure that the existing color underneath that you preserve, so you have to mask all that off to be able to give that 3D element of all the different colors coming together and working together. So for me, that is the fun part of it. The reality is, once I'm finished building the car, this is kind of just my OCD. I'll probably enjoy the fact that it's done, and probably enjoy it for about a month before I start looking for something different, and I'll get something else, and continue to build it and enjoy it. Like I said, it's something continuously that I have to continue to do. I've done it since, going back to when I was at Cook middle school, I built a lowrider bike. So it's just, something that I've really enjoyed, and it's now, in my later stages of life that I've realized the health benefits that it has. As long as you're not stressed out about money, as long as you're not stressed out that you have to have it done. I did used to try to do this type of work for a living in the early 2000s, and it was too stressful, trying to meet the demands of people that wanted work. So I stopped doing it, now I just do it for myself or close friends and relatives. And so I just, truly enjoy it. It's always been something that's been fun. I have a Cadillac, and the Cadillac now is at my parents' house. I would say right now, to this point, the most satisfying work I would say is probably the roses that I have that are airbrushed on there. Because to me, being from Santa Rosa, the fact that I was raised in the Roseland area, the fact that when you look at our community, the fact that it is segregated. I am from Santa Rosa, and I am from the Santa Rosa community, from the Roseland community, and it is the Latino side of town, and for me, it's kind of, I want to build this car to represent us, to represent the rich culture that we have, and to represent the creativity and the engineering and all the artistic skill that goes behind it. So for me right now, the most satisfying thing is that, and the other satisfying thing is that I get to do this with my young brother. He really got into it as well, so he's building his 64 Impala, and I just hope that he's learning the same lessons that I've learned, when it comes to mental health, really kind of enjoying the build, taking your time, making sure it's done right. Like I said, I've been building this car, for quite some time, and I could have painted the chassis black and thrown black suspension on it and had a nice car. But for me, it's not, just about having a nice car. It's really about paying homage to Eno. He was one of the persons that really introduced me to this type of lifestyle. And like I said, the memories I have in my mind of his El Camino and that candy paint job with the pearl. I guess I'm just always going to be chasing that style, and just, he had a custom grill. It was all twisted, so part of me is like, with this build, I have to see what I could do with the grill. I don't know exactly what route I'm going to take it in yet, but I have to do a little something to the grill just to keep it. And like I said, it's, paying homage to those that came before me. I know that, Eno's one of the very instrumental persons when it came to in my life. When it came to lowriding, I'm telling you, like, many summers just working at Shepherd and Roseland Elementary, either cleaning classrooms or picking up rocks in the bags, so we could lay sod, and just hearing, of the glory days of, the club getting together and going down to Story and King or cruising down Mendocino. So to me, that's part of it all goes together. And then also, if I really look at some of the designs that I do when I'm painting, it kind of reminds me of some of the clothes that I've seen in pictures of my grandpa. I never got to meet him, but I've seen pictures of him in chattel clothes, and all the detail that went into those type of suits. So I believe it's just, me paying homage to everybody that came before me, and continuing in a legacy of lowriding. And like I said, it's engineering, it's artistic, It's engaging with the community. There's nothing like it when you have your car and you take it out. You know, people from all different walks of life, you know, engage with you. It brings back memories of when they had their car, or first car, or, you know, cars in the 60s. So everybody could relate, you know, to the cars, you know, and I think that is one of the reasons that you're motivated, you know, that you really continue also is just, you know, because you want to share it with your community.